After much delay by Greg Richard, we can finally start right now. I mean, Greg Richard and Nick Given. I mean, you've been all over the place this morning. We're trying to get started. I got Andy over here to my left. We're ready to go, and you're trying to hold me back. You're trying to hold me back, and I don't understand.
I'm just
glad. I feel like a caged animal right now, but. Go ahead.
I'd like to know who the first in the building was this morning, Brad.
I was the first in the building. I was the first one here. My Impala was going 90 miles per hour on 71 South today. I was flying by everybody out there.
Who was the last one to plug their microphone in today?
Who was the last person to get here and who was late? And that's Andy Mack Williams.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
First time that Andy Mack has ever been late in his life was this morning. Andy, you were 15 minutes late.
You know, there was some sort of major event on Queen City Avenue, and that area is an area I try to avoid at all costs.
But you have to.
Because of the Department of Transportation and their many detours, I had to go that way. And I'm on the way to the airport. I have an important trip to go on. And, you know, frankly, the fans of this podcast, and there are millions of them out there.
Millions of trillions. Trillions.
Not really interested in our petty interfighting and production problems. They're here for solid and comprehensive, authentic information on Xavier University basketball, Brad. And
we got to give that to them.
I don't mean to be negative here, but you know, what happened to you on 71 is superfluous to our purpose.
That's true.
Here.
We have to deliver college basketball because that's what the people want. That's what the audience is calling for. They're calling for kicking it old school with Andy Mack. That's what they want.
We are simply disseminators of information. We are the conduit for solid and authentic information on Xavier University.
Your vocabulary always continues to amaze me. So let's go to the Musketeers, Andy.
Let's do it.
Xavier's 17-2 now, 4-2 in the Big East.
Wait a minute now, 17-3. Let's
17-3.
be correct.
Oh, 17-3. Sorry, Andy. I forgot the last loss there. I'm glad that you can pick me up on my numbers.
Thank you.
I'm glad you can pick me up.
I have some role.
But after 2 road losses on the road, the wheels were falling off. We lost to Providence. Xavier lost to Villanova handily, and it was all going downhill, Andy. And then they come back to the Cintas Center, and they're playing pretty well.
You know, I didn't feel that way, and the Creighton game sort of underlined my correct perception of this, the 92-70 massacre of the Creighton Blue Jays. And then Xavier came back and played a surprisingly plucky and resilient St. John's team and beat them 88-82 on Wednesday at Cintas. It's life on the road in the Big East, though. The top 4 teams, Villanova, Xavier, Seton Hall, and Creighton, continue their amazing home court dominance. Those 4 teams are 45-0 collectively in their home cities and 13-0 in Big East home games. So to win on the road in this league is really a problem.
That's pretty good. No losses for those teams at home, right? No losses at all. That's staggering.
Maybe. Somewhere.
Not even one mistake along the way. That St. John's game was a little bit up and down. I think, St. John's coming in, they still have yet to win a game in the Big East. Expected Xavier to have this Johnny's blown out by the first half. That didn't happen. St. John's took the lead with about 7 minutes to go in that game on a 3-point shot, 68-65, and then Xavier went on that 15-0 run. Were you surprised at all by how close that game was late?
Now, if you look at the record, St. John's had given Seton Hall a good game in Newark, and they'd given Creighton a really strong game in Omaha. And Coach Mullen, although his team is 0-7 in the league, they like to play for him. It's sort of chuck and duck offensively. It's an NBA style. In other words, they don't run any plays, and it's all one-on-one. And players like that. It's tough. And they respond by playing really feisty defense. They lead the Big East in block shots, turnovers created, and then steals. And they gave Xavier problems. X had great difficulty getting the ball inside. And they had that nice run before the end of the first half when Trayvon Blewett came up large. They went up 8, and I figured that it might be all over, but St. John's kept coming back, and they hit a bunch of shots. And then Xavier went on that really, that was a heartening 15-0 run when Xavier went from 3 down to 12 up and sort of put the game on ice. And it was pack line defense. Najee Marshall went one-on-one against that little Shamori Pons guy. And
There's the little line. Everyone's always little. Go ahead. Everyone's always little.
He locked him up. He locked him up like a gun safe in your basement. I thought
Najee's
a great defender.
and he's a very trusted defender. I mean, you're going to get Shamari Pons, and obviously a game that was extremely tight, and you put a freshman guard on their best player. At least their player that's taking the most of the shots that they got.
He takes a lot of shots.
He takes a ton of them.
But, Najee was great in the Creighton game, man-on-man against Marcus Foster, who's arguably the best wing player in the Big East. And then he flips the script. Chris Mack trusts him, goes man-to-man against Pons, and Mullen did everything under the book to get the ball to Pons, and Pons certainly never refuses a shot opportunity.
And he struggled finishing in that second half.
Yes.
I can remember about 4 layups that he missed. He had one off of a turnover. He had about another 3 in the half court where he made a nice move. I thought Najee's length and Xavier's length inside bothered him, and he struggled finish and with his off hand as he got to the rim. But there's something to be said about St. John's. They don't have a deep bench at all, so that starting 5, it barely comes out. They play with ultra confidence. I thought Justin Simon did a great job in transition, and the guy who everybody is talking about right now is Kareem Cantor. He has been unbelievable. I don't know what the heck is going on with this guy, but he had 22 and 11 against St. John's. He was hitting threes. He was making shots with his left hand, right hand. It didn't matter if anyone into his face. And Kareem Cantor, he plays at his pace. He doesn't allow anybody to speed him up. I mean, do you see his minutes skyrocketing, or do you see him continuing to stay around that 20-minute mark?
He's a Euro guy. As you say, he plays a rather unique style. I cannot see his minutes going up much over 25. He's a big guy. He's deceptively quick. He looks like he's a bit of a plow horse as far as speed is concerned, but he gets from point A to point B and seldom turns the ball over. And, I can see his minutes rising to 25, but that's about it. There's a limit. You don't want to totally wear this guy out. He played a lot stingier and stickier and nastier defensively in that big surge against St. John's. I think he's underrated defensively. He gobbles up defensive rebounds. He may play below the rim, but he positions himself well, and he grabs those boards, and he knows how to trigger a break too. I mean, if there's not a guard there, he's going to bring it up himself. He's not going to wait, look at the sundial and wait for a guard to show up. This guy's good.
And how about Coach Mack? Now the winningest coach ever in Xavier history, 203 wins. He passed Pete Gillen, who had 202. And Chris, I know he doesn't like many people talking about his accolades. He didn't seem like he was overly comfortable after the game when Greg Christopher was introducing him to the fans that were still there to congratulate him. But you have to be impressed with what Coach Mack has done, especially because most of those wins, over half of them, have come while Xavier has been a part of the Big East Conference as well. So you got to tip your hat off to Coach Mack.
Yeah, he showed up as a head coach for the first time in 2009, moved over from the second chair to the first chair, and that can be a difficult transition. And then, boom, they joined the Big East, and he has sort of marshaled that step up in competition. The recruiting's been great. The staff continuity, he's got the same group of support people around him. I think he realizes that it's important to have people you trust when you delegate. And the NCAA success, 7 NCAA bids, a 10-7 overall NCAA record, 2 Sweet 16s, an Elite 8, and who knows, this year, the potential to maybe take the next step. I mean, there's not much to criticize. And his ability as far as being a tactician in games as really, like that East Tennessee State game when he took he had his guys take those fouls late and he used all his timeouts to maneuver the victory over East Tennessee State. I mean, there are very few flaws in his overall package.
He's had a dream career pretty much to this point. Probably the only thing missing right now is a Big East championship and that road to the Final Four, which we all expect the Xavier Musketeers to get there at some point, but he's been unbelievable. He's had postseason success. He's had big-time recruiting classes, and probably the best part about Chris is his ability to be flexible, adaptable, make in-game decisions. Coach Mack, definitely one of the top coaches in all of college basketball.
You know, I warned Tennessee to stay away from him a few years ago. I warned the Cal Golden Bears, or whatever they are, to stay away. Right now, I'm going on record. I'm warning the Louisville Cardinal people, stay out.
There's some rumblings, Andy. We're hearing some rumblings. I'm hearing some. I got a little bit of chatter going on. I mean, Greg and Nick, they talk to me all the time.
Yeah.
You know, they're very tied in with the Louisville community. They really are.
You guys are part of the problem. You are part of the problem,
Andy.
here.
Andy,
I'm
can
just
you
sitting over here?
Andy, do you think you can turn down $8 million a year check, $6 million a year check?
Well,
are you going to turn that down?
You better make sure that Louisville has the money in the bank now.
Yeah.
They've got.
They do.
They're going to owe
Patino has a layaway stash.
Rick-
He's still siphoning in money to Louisville.
Louisville has no university president. They have an acting athletic director. They have pending NCAA
But they had
sanctions
all that
dating
Adidas
back
money.
to
This is
2012.
all the more reason to go, because you can be the guy to deliver them from the depths. You can come in as a savior, and you go into Louisville. Now you're making $6.57 million a year, and you can turn around this program. You can leave Rick Pitino in the shadows and lead the Louisville Cardinals to glory once again, and you would become the most revered coach in all of Louisville history. I mean, it sounds like a party to me, Andy.
Brad, how are you going to do that without any scholarships, because the NCAA is going to take most of them away, without a path to the NCAA because you're going to be banned for the tournament for 2 years, and also with no place to play because the Yum Center, they've defaulted on their bonds twice. They may close that place up.
Well,
and they'll have to go back to Freedom Hall and play like they did in Denny Crum's
Listen,
days.
here's the thing, though. We're not talking about me going to build this team up, or you or Nick and Greg. We're talking about the Chris Mack, the winningest coach in Xavier history, 203 wins, Sweet 16s, Elite 8 appearances. I mean, a guy that took a team from the Atlantic 10 to the Big East. If there's anybody in the country that can take Louisville back to a place of prominence, it's probably going to be Chris Mack.
You think he's going to want to sit around for 3 years with no chance to go to the tournament and maybe
And
not
pad
be,
his bank account,
maybe,
though?
Maybe
Maybe,
not
I don't
being
know.
on TV.
Is he
I
a
mean,
kid?
hey,
How many kids
I
does
might
Chris
take
have?
that out of Kentucky, but I'll go home to my nice mansion house.
He
and,
does
you know.
have 3 kids.
Three
He has
kids?
3
He's got
kids.
college to think about. He's
And
got
his-
stuff to pay for.
His wife's family does live in Louisville,
Well.
so you could always go over there and have like a casserole.
Yeah.
So, whatever.
I think
I'm sure he's worried about a casserole with making $8 million.
Can the Be Different podcast start a GoFundMe to maybe
Yeah, to
Maybe raise some money
That's
for
what we
Chris
should do.
Mack.
Raise money for Chris to go.
to stay here so we can
Yeah,
equal,
to stay here. Yeah, yeah,
equal
yeah, yeah.
We'll start a GoFundMe.
We could do that.
Talk about a drop in the bucket. Hey, who knows what's going to happen? I mean, Chris has done a great job here. Obviously, Xavier has survived other coaches leaving. He may go. Everybody has a price. And if Louisville can gather up $8 million, I'd suggest they put it in a bearer bond in an account where he can check the balance before he goes, because Louisville's got some serious fiscal problems and all sorts of political problems in the state of Kentucky, because the governor cleaned out their board, and there's been some embezzlement issues in their foundation. Who knows what's going to happen? They're a fine school, as witnessed by their rehiring of the great Bobby Petrino to coach football there. Ethical man, whatever. But we'll see what happens. Let's talk basketball.
We'll get back. Okay, Andy, we had some fun with Coach Mack. We also had some fun talking about Xavier. What about any concerns that you have with this team? Was there anything that happened in the St. John's game that bothered you? Anything that, say, you were the coach, that you would try and change, or at least try and make more solid moving forward for Xavier to make this run?
I think defensively this team needs to get better. If you look at their metrics, they're maybe like 76th in the country in defensive efficiency, if you believe in Ken Palm's numbers, and they're now in the top 10 offensively. So I think it would be interesting to see if they could get that defensive efficiency number down in the 30s. It may be difficult in a very good league like the Big East to get the numbers down, but I think they can improve defensively. They really delivered the defense almost for the whole game against Creighton, keeping a team that averages 90 to 70 And they had those spurts against St. John's where they were excellent. It was lockdown, very good defense. And I think Xavier's better in a tournament scenario in the NCAA when those zones that they use are a surprise to the team they haven't played much. In the league, in the Big East, everybody knows the 1-3-1, the 2-3, all those zones are coming. And it's so difficult to make them effective. But if you use them in tournament play, especially on the second game of a 3-day weekend with one off day in between, then the zone against the Florida States, the Marylands, the Arizonas can be very effective. So I got a lot of hope that this team can get better defensively. They did last year, and if Coach Mack can keep the offense humming and get the defense to be a little more consistent, then I think the sky's the limit for this group.
Yeah, I think there's very few concerns offensively. The only concern that you might have is at times point guard play, at turnovers. In that St. John's game in the second half, I thought both Quentin and Scruggs got pretty sloppy with the basketball and allowed St. John's to stay in that game late. Defensively, we talked about Najee Marshall, a huge benefit to Xavier if Najee can continue to kind of become that lockdown guy defensively, because I mean, if he's guarding a guy at 6'1", Najee Marshall is tall, athletic. He's stronger. He's going to be able to eat up those guys on the perimeter, and that's going to help everyone if you're comfortable with him guarding one of the team's best players.
And I think Najee really embraces that defensive stopper role. You got to have the mentality where you like to make great offensive players suffer, and I think Najee enjoys that.
I think he does, absolutely. What's up with them pounding the floor? Who started the pounding the floor? I think of that as like a Duke thing. That was something that Bobby Hurley did back in the day. Now I'm out there and I see Scruggs pound the floor. I got JP. Why is JP pounding the floor? Where did the pounding the floor come from?
You're right.
I'm just not a fan of it.
That's a Duke thing. I don't like that. And Wojo's the one who started that. Steve
Yeah,
Wojciechowski, he won himself a National Defensive Player of the Year award with that pounding the floor. He wasn't that good a player.
Yeah,
he won the award.
I don't know what's going on with the pounding the floor thing. I don't know. I think we need to get rid of
Especially
it.
JP. Defense is not a foreign concept to him, but it can be somewhat problematic.
At times, I can understand those feelings, though. I get that. I understand where that comes from.
You could have been a great defender, but you chose to concentrate 95% of your practice time on the offensive end, and with your abilities.
Well, and that's just part of being young. You know, I wasn't balanced maybe as much as I needed to be, but you know what? At the end of the day, I was a scorer. I love shooting the basketball. I like making that three-point shot, getting everybody excited.
Do you think you should have practiced your Euro step a little bit more?
Well, the inverted Euro step, yes. I thought I was pretty good at like the regular Euro that you may see, but the inverted Euro, I definitely could have performed better, maybe a little bit more gracefully.
Okay.
When I was at the
it's
college
a hard
level.
move. It's a hard move.
We should find the footage of Greg doing the Euro step when you were trying to teach him. It's the greatest thing.
It was pretty
That's
good.
how this all came about.
It was pretty good.
The one wild card with X, as it is with every team in the country, maybe not Duke or Kentucky because they have all those parade or McDonald's All-Americans lined up waiting to play, is a random catastrophic injury. And we saw that happen to Creighton just the other day. I don't know if it's catastrophic, but Martin Crumpel, it looked like an innocent play, but he blew out his ACL, and their big guy is gone for the year.
Martin Crumpel. We were having some fun talking about Crumpel before Xavier beat Creighton at the Cintas Center, but he's a good player. I mean, I feel bad for him, obviously. Tore his ACL. He was averaging double figures in points, almost double digits in rebounds as well, 11 points, over 8 rebounds a game. Really talented player. You hate to see a guy go out with injury. And then also last night, Andy, we talk about road games all the time. That was a big topic of conversation last week. We saw Michigan go to Michigan State, get a big victory, and then Michigan goes to Nebraska and loses by 20. So college basketball is just a crazy game. I don't know how you bet. I don't know how you figure these guys out.
It's unpredictable. What about St. John's? If they had Marcus Levette, that other diminutive, I'm not going to call him little, but diminutive guard,
But you did call him little.
to go with Shamari Pons and Simon, they would be maybe 3-4, 4-3 in the league instead of 0-7.
Yeah, you add Levette with that core of Clark, Simon, and Pons, and that's a pretty good team. And just adding one more body, and then he's obviously one of your best players. That would have been nice to be able to see him play the rest of the year. And The Musketeers now will go on the road. They will go at Seton Hall, which has not been very kind to the Musketeers.
Ouch.
They are 0-4 so far since joining the Big East, and Seton Hall has a very, very talented team. Andy, what is your perspective? What is your thought process, moving forward on Saturday?
That game is 2:30 Saturday from the Rock in Newark, the Prudential Center. It'll be on Big Fox, Channel 19, WXIX locally. Seton Hall, actually, Coach Willard is a strange dude. He's a very good coach, but they got pummeled at Creighton the other night, 80-63. He closed things down. He pulled the chute and ran up the white flag early in the game. Desi Rodriguez played 6 minutes, didn't have foul trouble, sat at the end of the bench for 34 minutes in that game. And after the game, Coach Willard said, Desi's been fatigued. He's played great. I wanted to save him for Xavier. Delgado played 20 minutes, 4 points, 4 rebounds. Angel Delgado, the active leading rebounder in the NCAA, number 2 all-time in the Big East, sat the bench. So Willard, Mack would never do this. Kevin Willard pulled the chute at Creighton. He saw them get off to a 20-4 lead, and he saved he played his bench guys. I mean, that is unprecedented, I think.
Who do you think the best matchup for Delgado is for Xavier?
Tyreek Jones.
You think it's
has to bang on him, and then when Tyreek gets tired, you bring in the next guy, Sean O'Mara, and then somehow you got to get Cantor on the floor.
It's going to be a party down there.
Oh, yeah.
It's
A
gonna be
lot of big guys.
Yeah.
Cantor might be able to get
Real sweaty.
he might be able to get Delgado Cantor with all those little bumper pool moves he makes and those flips and what he could get Delgado, who likes to block shots, into foul trouble.
Okay.
So I want to ask you, I have an idea where you're going to go. Will you give us a prediction on this game, or are you going to pause and just allow yourself to enjoy this one?
Look at the numbers. I mean, the 45-0, the 13-0 as far as the top Big East teams on their home floor. Look at the Xavier history. Every time they go to the Rock in Newark, something bizarre happens. It was a Matt Stainbrook injury one year. It was the Muskies were flying high after upsetting Villanova one year. Last year, I forget what it was, but it was butt ugly down there. I mean, they're 0-4. They haven't even been close to beat this team in Newark. And it's going to be sold out. The game is sold out right now. They're making it the biggest game in the history of New Jersey basketball.
A lot of excitement.
It's bigger than Bill
Huge.
Bradley and the Princeton Tigers back in the 60s.
It's going to be
you
huge.
Remember that? It's a huge game. And, even Andy Mack might be tempted to pick the Seton Hall Pirates in this
Don't do
one.
it. I'm not going to make you
do it.
Yeah,
Not
don't
gonna
do
do
it.
it?
You don't have to give me a prediction.
This is a special Xavier team. They need a signature road win. This would tell the whole league that Villanova game a couple of weeks ago in Philadelphia was an aberration, a fluke. They're going to beat this Seton Hall team. Kevin Willard did not do the correct thing in pulling all his players out at Creighton. He took a loss and looking to win at home against Xavier. I don't like that. I don't think it's ethical. And, of course, he and Desi Rodriguez have had a love-hate relationship since day one. I mean, Desi gets thrown out of practice every week, and they bicker like the Bickersons on TV. They don't like each other. But
I think with Xavier coming in, they're going to want to win so badly. I think they're going to try and throw that stuff out the side. I'm not going to give a prediction either. I do think it will be extremely challenging for Xavier to go in there and win.
Extremely.
Villanova is number 1 in the Big East, as they always are. They are not playing a Big East team this weekend. They will take on UConn. And then following UConn, you have a bunch of teams with 2 losses. You got Xavier, Creighton, Seton Hall, as well as Providence. Xavier will take on Seton Hall. Creighton will take on Providence. So at the end of Saturday night, Sunday, you're going to have Villanova with 1 loss, and you're going to have 2 teams with 2 losses, and then you're going to have a few with 3 if Butler can win as well.
And it's all good in the Big East. They're going to get 6, maybe 7 teams in the NCAA, and it would be great to win a Big East championship and win the Big East tournament and all that stuff. But the holy grail is to get into the NCAA and get the best possible seed you can. And all those goals are in line for Xavier. Seton Hall, very good, though. Desi Rodriguez, he can score from every level. Delgado's the best big man in the Big East. Carrington, that lefty guard, is a great penetrator, shoots about 15 free throws a game. Sanogo, the big defender, is getting more playing time now. They don't have a very deep bench. They play 2 guys off the bench, Sanogo and the freshman Miles Cahill. And they don't shoot free throws well. Hey, there it is. There's the life preserver.
There it is.
Xavier,
Free throws.
Xavier with a lead into the final 4-minute war on Saturday afternoon, and Seton Hall goes to the line and bricks about 3 front ends.
That's what I was hoping Providence would do too, but I think they went 20 for 22.
Yeah, you're right.
So, well, my fingers are crossed. I agree with you.
It's gonna be a great game. It'll be fun to watch. Either way, it will be entertaining. I will be in front of the TV watching. If you're watching the game, I'll be doing a post game here on Fox. So I will be there right after the game. You're going to get to see this beautiful, beautiful face right after the game.
Do they put makeup on you?
No, there's no makeup.
No makeup?
You just go on.
They're like we can't fix this.
I asked them if they could put some powder on, just like a little bit of brown tanning powder.
Y'all got some powder.
They said that was not possible the last time. So.
Brad, you don't need that. You have that peaches and cream Northern Michigan complexion.
Peaches and cream. Are you hitting on him?
For eating all those apples. You've eaten apples daily forever. And it shows
Thank you.
You don't need that.
Thank you, Andy. I appreciate that. Well, that was fun. That was fun,
I
Andy.
wish I were going to be in town. I could watch that post game.
I know, and you'll be out of town for the game when the Muskies play Marquette on Wednesday. Those 2 guards that I know you love so much, Foster and Rousey. But the Musketeers, they have a big challenge ahead of them on Saturday afternoon at Seton Hall. Andy Mack says the Musketeers are going to win. Everybody else on the outside says that's not going to happen. But we will see, because the game is going to happen barring anything catastrophic.
Mark it down, 78-76. Xavier in a huge upset and a break with history. The first road win in the Big East against one of those top elite teams. And this team is special, and they will do it.
And Andy, wrapping it up like
Maybe.
nobody else can. That is Kicking It Old School with Andy Mack.